Today we'll continue our lesson on producing data by looking at other sampling methods. Last week we learned about a simple random sample, or an SRS. Today we'll look at two other sampling methods called stratified random sample and then cluster sampling. In a stratified random sample, we classify the population into groups of similar individuals that we'll call strata, then choose an SRS in each stratum. We'll combine these SRSs to form the full sample. As an example, suppose we want to sample all the high school students at UNCSA, but we want to make sure that we get some students from every grade level. What we could do is classify the students by their grade in school, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and then we'll choose an SRS from each grade, maybe 10 students per grade or something like that. The grade in school would be the strata. In cluster sampling, we'll classify the population into groups of individuals that are located near each other, and we'll call those clusters. Then we choose an SRS of the clusters. After that, we will survey all the individuals in the chosen cluster, and that will become our sample. So as an example, again, if we wanted to survey all of the some of the high school students at UNCSA, we could classify the students by what academic class they have at 130, given that most students have a 130 academic at all of our grade levels. And then we'll choose a random sample of classes. So in other words, we take all of the classrooms on 3rd floor gray, and not forgetting Miss Thompson in 2nd floor gray, and we would number those classrooms and then choose a random sample of maybe 2 or 3 classes. Then we would survey every single person in each of those classes. So the clusters here would be the different individual 130 classes. Maybe you want to think about whether this would be a good way to survey students to get a representative sample of our population. Now, this next idea is just kind of letting us know where we're heading as we move through this course. So why do we even want to choose a sample? Well, we choose a sample in order to give us information about a larger population. And the process of drawing conclusions about a population on the basis of sample data is called inference. And that's because we want to infer information about the population from what we know about a sample. And of course, we have to be careful when we do this, and we have to be careful to select our sample so that our sample is representative of the entire population that we're interested in inferring something about. So just a few cautions about sample surveys. We could have under coverage, and this occurs when some members of the population cannot be chosen in a sample. And that could occur if we do something like random digit dialing for people's landlines, their home phones. And of course, these days, especially, not everyone has a landline. So those people who do not would be left out of a potential survey. Non-response, that occurs when the individual chosen for the sample can't be contacted or refuses to participate. Response bias refers to a variety of things that can lead to incorrect or false responses, and that could be brought on by the interviewer or the respondent. And then poorly worded questions. Those are confusing or leading questions that can introduce strong bias in the responses, and changes in the wording can greatly affect a survey's outcome. So those are just a few of the things that we need to be cautious about as we design our surveys in order to gain information about an entire population. You should do your short quiz that is also posted on Blackboard.